Alright, so today I'm making a video on another old phone that I'm really into. It's not a Razr this time, it's actually a T-Mobile Sidekick 4G. This is actually, it's not one of the, it's not a genuine Sidekick because it wasn't made by Danger. It's actually in kind of a vintage Android phone from the early 2010s, but it's still pretty cool. It's a fun little device. And in this particular case, I'm going to be showing a neat app I have on here. It's a function generator app. And I'm going to do some cool stuff with it on the oscilloscope, which you're going to see in a minute. So, hardware-wise, this thing, it's an old phone, so it's got, a headphone jack right here, right? And I've got the left and right speaker wires connected up to this oscilloscope, channels 1 and 2. Alright, so I'm going to start out by opening up the function generator app. All right, and so first of all, I'm just going to display a couple sine waves. So, just adjusting the frequency, I'm going to do 100 hertz, just because that's a nice round number for both channel 1 and channel 2. Yeah, this app allows me to control channel 1 and 2 independently, which makes what I'm about to demonstrate possible. Okay, whoops. Let's turn it on. So there you can see the oscilloscope. With the sine wave on there, I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. So, as you can see, this is actually two signals, not one. So for both the left and right signal on the headphone jack, it's putting out two sine waves that are in phase with each other and have the same amplitude. Okay. So I'm going to switch over. So right now, anybody who knows how, sine waves work on a scope, right? I'm displaying voltage on the vertical axis versus time on the horizontal axis. But I'm going to switch to XY mode, which displays the voltage of both signals relative to each other on the X and Y axes. And so, as you can see, we get this diagonal line. Okay, so why is that? Why is it a diagonal line? Because for each time point, the value of each function is equal to each other, right? So you have X equals Y. And X equals Y, of course, is a diagonal line. So I'm going to adjust the scale a little bit first because I want to, hold on a second. I want to be able to adjust my screen to get what I'm about to do as big as possible. Okay, let's see here. That's too much. All right, I think that's just about right. Okay, so now I have a line here, which is because the two signals are equal to each other at all time points. But I'm going to now adjust the phase between the two. So first of all, let's make the phase 45 degrees. And you can see it turns into an ellipse. Okay. And so what if I make it 90 degrees? Turns into a circle, right? Because what I now have, I'm gonna center this circle a little better really quick. So on the horizontal axis, I have a cosine function, and on the vertical axis, I have a sine function, right? So that makes a circle. So now what happens if I change the frequency of one of these signals a little bit? I'm going to show the Sidekick just so you kind of see the adjustments I'm making. So on channel 2, it's 100 hertz. What if I change it to 101 hertz? Whoops. These buttons are really tiny and kind of hard to press. Check it out. So now the signals are going in and out of phase, and we have what's called a beat frequency. And visually, it kind of looks like a ring rotating in 3 dimensions. Like it's an optical illusion, but really it's a purely 2-dimensional image. But I mean, just looking at it, it kind of tricks your eye into thinking you've got this like 3D object rotating. It's pretty cool. So now I'm going to change the frequency back again. Well, actually, before I do that, like, notice I have one function. Channel 1 is at 100 hertz and channel 2 is at 101 hertz. And the difference between those is 1 hertz, and that's the frequency that this ellipse oscillates back and forth. So it's the difference between the two signal frequencies. So as you can see, if I change channel 2 to 102 hertz, it speeds up, right? So now it's a 2 hertz oscillation of the ellipse. Or if I change it to, I'll do 100.5, and that'll go at half speed. Well, 1/2 of a hertz. Okay, so I'm going to change it back to 100 really quick. Whoops, that's not what I want. That's 10. That's not what I meant to do. Okay. So what if I change the ratios of the frequencies? So I have 100 hertz on channel 1 and channel 2 right now. What if I change channel 2 to 200 hertz? Oh, look at that. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to adjust the phase really quick to kind of even that out. Okay. That's good enough. So what's going on here? I'm plotting 2 functions of different frequencies against each other on the x and y axes, and the ratio of the 2 frequencies is 2. So a good way to understand this is to trace the full loop and count the number of horizontal versus vertical oscillations. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to trace this loop, and I'm going to count the number of vertical oscillations, right? So starting here, 1/2, 1. Okay, so we have 1 vertical oscillation. Now I'm going to count the horizontal, okay? 1, 2. So we have 1 vertical oscillation, 2 horizontal oscillations, right? And this is there's a term for this. This is called a Lissajous figure. So Lissajous figures, or Lissajous curves, they're these 2D graphical representations of 2 different sine waves interfering with each other. And so I'm going to change the frequency again. It's in channel 2. I'll make it, that's the phase. Go to frequency. And as you can see, it changed the signal again. So I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to count the number of horizontal and vertical oscillations. So starting here, vertical oscillations, so 1/2, 1. Okay, so now horizontal oscillations. 1, 2, 3. So 1 vertical and 3 horizontal oscillations. So now what happens if I slightly offset the ratio? So now we have like a 1-to-3 ratio. What if I make it slightly higher than 1-to-3? So I'm going to change this signal to 301 hertz. Look at that. It makes a rotation. Doesn't that look cool? I mean, it has the creates the illusion of a 3D rotation. And again, this is rotating at 1 hertz because that's the frequency difference between that perfect 3-to-1 ratio. I'm going to lower it a little bit, make it like 300.5. Yeah, see, that slows it down. And also, what I can do is I can flip this thing 90 degrees. So how would I do that? Well, I would swap the frequencies on these 2 channels. So I'm going to do that really quick. I'm going to make channel 1 300.5. And now we briefly have an ellipse because right now I have 300.5 hertz on both channels. But now I'm going to change channel 2 to 100. Look at that. So we flipped it 90 degrees and now it's rotating on the other axis, on the vertical axis. Okay. So let's try some more interesting ratios. Instead of 1/3, let's try something like, I don't know, 2/5. So let's make this one 200 hertz. And that's kind of interesting, but we're not going to talk about that one right now. We're going to make this even better. Let's make this one 500 hertz. Ooh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to change this phase. Whoa, actually that was the frequency. I didn't want to do that. Okay, so we could think about this curve the exact same way as the previous one. So I'm going to count the horizontal and the vertical oscillations. So starting at the top corner, I'm going to count the vertical oscillations. So one, two vertical oscillations. Now the horizontal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 vertical and 5 horizontal oscillations. And so now conceptually you can see how these figures are formed. And of course, if I change this frequency ever so slightly from that 5:3 ratio, so make it like 500.5. Actually, I'll make it really slow, 500.1. You can see it rotating. So really what's happening is the two signals are going in and out of phase with each other. So when you see everything line up, that's when the signals go briefly into phase. But it has this like optical illusion of like a 3D rotation. It's like you can see this object like rotating around like behind the screen. Looks really cool. Let's see, what else should I do? That was what, 3/5? 2/5. I can make this like 5/7. I'm going to change this one to 700 hertz. That's pretty neat. So again, now we have a approximately 5:7 ratio of the two frequencies. So anyways, I think you get the point. I mean, these are called Lissajous figures, and they're pretty cool. And there's an endless number of variations of these based on the ratio of the frequencies. And really, why am I even doing this? Well, I just thought this was kind of like a fun thing to do with this old phone. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of a way to play with this other than using it like in the standard phone format, and I found this cool app, and this is just kind of a neat way of demonstrating its capabilities, right? Plus, it's also fun to flip the screen. This, by the way, if you've never seen a Sidekick 4G, it's got this really cool hinge mechanism on it. It's not like the old school Sidekicks that like flipped out like that, but this is still like a pretty cool, like slick screen. Like I really dig it. It's very satisfying to like flick that thing open. It really snaps out. It's got a very satisfying click when it closes. And of course, it's got the keypad, and this is a touchscreen, which I've been using. So, anyways, I usually use the Razor, but I've got this thing, and I like playing around with it. It's pretty fun, and like, I'll probably make more videos on this in the future, like demonstrating other things that I can do with this. But the ability to, generate sine waves and Lissajous figures like this is pretty neat. I really enjoy playing around with it like this. Anyways, I think I'm going to wrap this up. That's pretty much what I wanted to show for this video. So hopefully you found that educational. And I mean, if you wanna learn more about Lissajous figures, you know, you got the internet, right? You can look it up. I mean, there's tons of information on it. Anyways, I'm gonna end that right here. Thanks for watching.